horrible news came out of the Solomon Islands was that China is going to get even stronger in that country. Now, the Solomon Islands, of course, is a troubled place where we've had to send police to try to get calm, and we've been sending foreign aid for a long time, but China, put simply, is going to spend more. Why? Because they can, right? But this is so for those that have said, oh, this is welcome to the long-term effects of cutting foreign aid, reality is China's going to swoop with more, all right? Now, here's how it works. We built the ports for you, so worst case scenario, we can turn them into military bases. But what it actually ends up being is one more vote in the UN that won't vote against anything China is doing. One more country that won't stand up against the policies that China has in place. And I love that places like the Solomon Islands will be the first to say Australia needs to do more on climate change. Can they say that about China? That, of course, will continue to do what it wants till 2030 and gets, of course, to net zero in 2060, not 2050? Of course not. Now, of course, Australia has an opinion on this, as does the Chinese ambassador.
Some politicians on the Australian side have published some fallacies of so-called Chinese coercion and deliberately created an atmosphere of tension, which is extremely irresponsible.
Yeah, currently if you're in the lobster farming business or something like that, and you've certainly seen what happens in the wine industry, but all of this is just made up, of course, by Australia. For his part, the Prime Minister talks about what's happening in the Solomon Islands and how that has a flow-on effect to us.
I disagree with them completely. We've always prioritised their needs and their interests and respected their sovereignty and haven't sought to influence them or interfere with them in any way.
Now, interesting side story as well, that apparently the new Chinese ambassador said he wanted to meet with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister said no, while, of course, they're trying to affect our economy, which is exactly what's happening. Albo was asked about what he would do.
I have not met with the ambassador of China, or indeed with any other officials from the Chinese embassy. My Foreign Affairs spokesperson has, Penny Wong, and the Foreign Minister I know and other ministers have from time to time had contact with the Chinese embassy, and that's appropriate.
Such strength, Michael Kroger, coming from the alternative Prime Minister. How does this play out politically? And tell you what, you want decisiveness at a time like this. But how should Australia actually respond? Because the left's going to say, throw more aid. This is what happens when you don't throw enough aid. But my point is China would have spent more anyway.
Yeah, of course. You'll never outspend the Chinese, whether it's here or anywhere around the world. You respond with strength and dignity and reminding people what we did for them in times of crisis and reminding them that we believe in a democratic system of government around the world. But the Chinese are doing this everywhere. It's not just the Solomon Islands. I noticed there was a decision taken in Barbados in the Caribbean recently to become a republic, and I think Prince Charles made a quick trip over there to celebrate this wonderful event where they're leaving the British monarchy behind. And mate, this happened a few months after the Chinese government lent the Barbadian government hundreds of millions of dollars. So they are hard at work there. They're hard at work in Ethiopia and Zimbabwe and countries all over the world. So, you know, the Solomon Islands is not just one place. 50 years ago, by the way, I remember us being, you know, those of us on the Conservative side we were criticised for saying, oh, the communists were trying to take over places, other countries, Reds under the bed type stuff. What's happening now?
Yeah,
Russia,
correct.
China? It's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Prue, what about this position where the Prime Minister said it would be an act of weakness to sit down with the new Chinese ambassador? What's your thoughts?
Look, I think it's probably not that unusual for a Prime Minister not to meet an ambassador. Like, I think the thing that Albo said that I agree with is that it probably is more appropriate for ambassador to ambassador, foreign minister, foreign affairs spokesperson. And to be honest, I agree with Michael. I think we have to respond with strength, that we are one of the best examples anywhere in the world of the sanctity of democracy, and that we believe in the rights of our neighbouring countries, in their democracy and their sovereignty and their right to democratic elections without interference. So, yeah, I don't think it's that unusual for a Prime Minister not to meet with the ambassador.